The next session deals with China outbound and Dmo strategies. We have representatives from 5 boards, and we will hear how they see the situation and what they plan for the future. This session has been prepared by Patrick Richards, and it will be moderated by Patrick as well. Patrick will introduce the panelists, but let me briefly introduce Patrick Richards. He's a travel industry expert. He's an executive with tons of experience and a very, very big network. He's been in senior positions in the UK, India, and he dealt extensively with the US as well. Not only has he been in the industry for many years, he understands new challenges and new technologies extremely well. So he's really the best combination of the old world and the new world. Patrick and I do not go back a long time, but he very, very fast came on the top of my personal top list of people I go to if I need advice on industry matters. Thank you very much, Patrick, and take over from here, please.
Good morning and good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to this session from the BUZZ Expo China Summit. Thank you, Jan, for the warm welcome. As you say, my name is Patrick Richards. I'm the moderator for this session, which will cover all things destination management and destination marketing. So we're just coming off the back of another great week for Chinese domestic tourism, the Golden Week, where once again, China, which has endorsed the demand for China domestic tourism. The question is, how are the international marketeers preparing for that international rebound? So we're lucky enough to have a panel of esteemed experts, most of whom are based in China. So they have first-hand insights of what's going on in the market. And they also represent a range both of geographies and from mature through to emerging markets. So I think we're lucky to have you all on board. So to move on right on with introductions, we have Zuzanna Gutkowska, who is the acting director of the Polish National Tourism Office in Beijing. We have Roy Kriesman, who is the tourism attaché to the government of Israel in China. We have Rufat Sadikov, who is the regional manager for Asia for the Azerbaijan tourism industry. We have Stephanie Heydolf, who is the director of marketing and the sales office in Hong Kong and South China for the German National Tourist Office. And we also have Lukasz Pokorny, who is the director of Czech Tourism China in Beijing. So welcome all. Please join me in welcoming them. The session will last for 1 hour. I'm going to ask each member in turn to introduce themselves very briefly, just for 1 minute, please, and just talk briefly about how China is coming into, the Chinese market is coming into your region. And then we'll move on with a series of questions. We'll keep it short and sharp and pretty conversational, and hopefully we'll have a great session together. So I'm going to start with you, Zuzanna. Please continue and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Zuzanna Gutkowska, and as Patrick mentioned, I'm a representative of Polish National Tourism Office here in Beijing. I'm stationed for 2 last years here, and so far, as the market is changing all the time, especially now with the pandemic, this is a whole new situation for all of us. Until now, we mostly had group tourism from China. Last year, we welcomed almost 160,000 visitors from the market. The numbers kept growing for the last couple of years. 2020, of course, is an exception, but we hope that the trend will come back in the future, and we are hoping to see more FITs, travelers as well. So that's it from me.
Thank you, Zuzanna. And Roy, if you could continue, please.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. Ni hao, and greetings from sunny Shanghai. We just finished the Chinese National Day, fantastic 9 days where we see the big booming of the Chinese domestic travel here in China. I'm located in Shanghai for 1 year already. And the Israeli Ministry of Tourism has 2 official representative offices in China. One office is located in Beijing, and one is brand new. We just opened recently in Shanghai, and I'm managing the both offices. Now, last year, 2019, we had more than 150,000 Chinese tourists coming to Israel, which is 50% growth compared to 2018. And that's why our minister and all the government decided to see the Chinese outbound tourism market as a very big potential market to our country. And that's why we're still here. And we'll elaborate a bit more later about which marketing activities we are doing at the moment. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Roy. And Rufat, on to you, please.
Yeah, hello everybody. Salam from Baku. Thank you very much, Patrick, for introduction. My name is Rufat. I'm regional manager for Asia at Azerbaijan Tourism Board. We, as Azerbaijan Tourism Board, responsible for promotion of holidays in Azerbaijan brand, and we have several representative offices, and we have office in China, in 3 cities, in Beijing, in Shanghai, and Guangzhou. And we had 64% increase during last year. It was great. It was amazing. And the Chinese office at the top priority in our company. Yes, of course, as everybody, now lockdown and we don't see the tourists, but we hope 2021 and especially Chinese New Year, Chunjie, will give us surprises. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rufat. And Stephanie, on to you, please.
Yes. 你们好,大家好. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Patrick. Thank you for inviting me to join this roundtable panel discussion. Looking at Germany, also this year, of course, clearly marks caesura in the previous 10-year success story of German overnight stays from our sales region. So basically, we are the German National Tourist Office, Hong Kong and South China. And 2019, we had almost 3 million overnight stays from travelers from China and Hong Kong all together. So we are here with 2 offices. One office is based in Beijing, and I'm located in the south of China. And we are also hoping for a strong recovery, looking at the strong recovery for China domestic travel. And we are hoping for a recovery for international travel in the next 2 years as well. I'm happy to contribute to this panel today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. And finally, Lukasz, please take the stage.
Thank you, Patrick, and hello, everyone. So I'm Lukasz. I'm working for Czech Tourism in Beijing for, now it's already 3 years. I'm trying to focus more in my ideas for FIT. It's slowly coming and it's slowly working. Last year we had 620,000 Chinese visitors to Czech Republic, and we are probably, as all the other people, we are looking forward for the situation to get better as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Lukasz. So we're going to start with a series of questions, and what I'm going to do is rather than everybody answer every question, I'll put questions to a couple of you for each one. But if anyone wants to comment, please feel free to come in. So really, I wanted to start off on the regulatory environment, and one of the great challenges of bringing tourism back will be to harmonize the regulatory environment and make sure that tourists feel safe to come to the different regions. And I'm going to start off with Stephanie, because you know, Germany is the giant with 3 million overnight stays amongst all of us. So really, what measures are you taking to reboot tourism post-COVID, both in terms of safety and in terms of harmonization and regulation? And I'm going to put that question to Stephanie, and then Roy, if you can pick it up from for Israel afterwards.
Thank you, Patrick. So, well, what measures are being taken to reboot tourism? Traveling is an experience and a connection to a place and to the people there. So, yeah, in recent years, I think the travel industry also saw benefit from advanced technology in providing cheaper and more transparent information channels. So travelers receive real-time information on flights, on prices, ticketing, accommodation. Looking at measures, now I think it's more about the real-time information on how is the flight and the travel situation in each country. So in Germany, we are working together with local destination organizations to provide more information on the 16 German states, what museums are open, how to register online, what are the visitor control measurements in place. So you have to book tickets digitally for museums, for tours, and even for a swimming pool, you have to register online. So this is one measure that is being taken in Germany. And hygienic measurements are also being taken. So, of course, social distancing is being implemented, and there is a limitation on the amount of people, for example, visiting a restaurant. So also for international visitors, it is important in future to know how to register a seat. In Germany, there was a lot of outdoor seating available in restaurants. Also, the German National Tourist Office has quickly created a microsite for the coronavirus measurements that are being implemented in 16 German states. There is unfortunately a few differences from German state to another German state. So the microsite helped to make information transparent. And we here also in the market supported this information with our trade contacts.
That's great. I mean, obviously, if everybody is registering online, that must accelerate the massive move towards digital stuff.
Yes.
And how do you go about then coordinating with 16 different states? That must be quite an undertaking.
Well, at the moment, the implementation of the safety measurements and the hygienic measurements is in the hands of each German state. So I think it's crucial to provide transparent information, and by now many states have implemented, for example, wearing a mask in public transportation, for example.
And you've been very successful at that. Roy, on to you. It'd be great to get your perspective on the same issue.
Yeah. So thanks for the question approaching me. And I will say something interesting, you know. When the COVID-19 just erupted in China at the end of January, start of February, Israel was one of the first countries to take a very severe measures and really close the borders to movement from overseas countries. We were one of the first. And when we just launched those severe measures, we got very non-convenient, of course, answers and response from our partners all overseas, airlines, travel agencies, etc. But what's interesting is 1 or 2 months later, after the COVID-19 was officially announced as a worldwide pandemic, all the countries, and especially countries in Far East Asia and China, Korea, were really appreciating us for taking those very severe measures. And this response still remains in the public's mind when we go here on the streets of Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, etc. People still really relate to Israel as a very serious healthcare country who really take it very severe. Now, regarding the the safety regulations, we initiated a few months ago the Purple Standard in Israel. This was launched together by the Israeli Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Health, which are, of course, guidelines of how to open a travel attractions, a restaurant, a hotel. What is the space? How many meters should be in the restaurant between every people? When you need to change the dishes in the kitchen of the restaurant, and how to provide food in the hotel. And after, of course, at the start, it was a bit difficult, but later then we saw that the domestic market thrives, and this is something we should really preserve for the future. And what we are doing at the moment, I mean, after we already initiated those standards, is to think about how to market on the day after, how to give the people in China, for example, the feeling that Israel would be and is a safe destination to travel post-COVID-19. And we already started to make the plannings, and we had a conclusion which initially we think that we won't market our country each and every product which is safe. For example, we won't concentrate on the airline, on the restaurant, on the hotel, on the travel attraction, but we see it as a whole journey safe trip. So we want to give the target audience the feeling that from the moment their airplane to Israel will take off to the moment they arrive to our country, take the bus, meet the tour guide, all this a journey will be safe, sterilized, etc. And this is one of our challenges at the moment to market it that way.
And what progress are you making in that, Roy?
So we already started. I mean, to gather all the information together as a destination management organization. To combine all together the hotel association, the airline, etc., to start making the plan and then to initiate into marketing strategy.
Fabulous. So you're taking a really holistic approach. We're going to move on to the next point, which is how the Chinese market is going to recover. And it must be a tough job when you don't know what the volume is going to be and you don't know when the tourists are going to come back. So how do you see that recovery happening, when and where and how much? And I'm going to put that question to Susanna.
Thank you, Patrick. So it's very difficult to answer this question, especially that when researching the market, you can see two different contradictory forces on the market. On one hand, people are really eager to travel. They miss the adventure. They miss going to their favorite places. They miss discovering new destinations. But on the other hand, there is this big worry about the safety of travel. There is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the travel restrictions, and this makes them very anxious, and they are not that open to outbound long-haul travel yet, especially that at the same time, there are some restrictions that are coming from the schools and from workplaces. So Some of the offices, they don't allow the employees to travel even domestically, not to mention the international travel. So for these reasons, of course, Chinese tourists are not ready to travel yet. They're willing, but not ready. And when we are talking with our business partners here on the market, unfortunately, the hopes that Rufat said at the beginning, that the Chunjie, the Chinese New Year, will bring some international travel, they are the tourist operator don't see it happening yet. They are hoping for the summer 2021 for the outbound long-haul travel to restart.
Okay, that's it's really interesting because, you know, a lot of the perceptions we have is that the Asian market will rebound very quickly, maybe more quickly than some of the American or the Western markets. But that's an interesting perspective that you're putting on things. Rufat, I'm going to make the same question to you. How do you see? Do you share Susanna's slight pessimism on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick. You know, we all plan, but COVID has his own plans. And when at March and April we started our lockdown in Azerbaijan, we as a tourism board prepared phases. 5 phases, and now in autumn it should be phase 4, when already some tourists start to come to Azerbaijan, but unfortunately not. We're still on lockdown and borders are closed. We have some flights with neighbor countries, I mean with Russia, with Turkey, and not Dubai also, but not with China. And if we Chinese market, our representative office bi-weekly send us reports about situation with tourism. And yes, we also know that Chinese travelers focused on domestic, but as Susanna mentioned, not all of them also. But as I mentioned before, we all wait for Chinese New Year, and we as Azerbaijan, we also know 100% that in January 2021 our borders will be open, and Azerbaijan airline will fly to Beijing, will relaunch its flight. And we also ready, we prepared our hygienic program, Savman, for all fields of tourism. Let's wait for 2021.
Delighted at that confidence, just given we're in the second wave in Europe and this thing keeps on recurring. It's good to hear your confidence on that, Rufat, and hope it can come to pass that you have everything up and running by Chinese New Year. That would be good. I want to move a little on to the marketing now, and just how in your planning you are changing your marketing strategies to cope with a post-pandemic world. And I'm going to put that question first of all to Stephanie and then to Susanna.
Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, how have our German National Tourist Office marketing strategies changed as a consequence of the pandemic? Well, again, I mentioned the German National Tourist Board and its 31 worldwide offices normally run marketing campaigns, annual campaigns, a different marketing campaign every year, which is well prepared. And we did achieve the milestone achievement of 3 million overnight stays, and from the source market, China and Hong Kong. Now, yeah, this year we still are running the annual theme of the 250th birthday of Beethoven. So I actually have, other side, the background, BT-HVN. So into this campaign came the pandemic, and of course several offline events that had been carefully planned for several months and weeks had to be rescheduled and then put online. So actually the headquarters in Frankfurt and the colleagues from the German National Tourist Board, they quickly created an empathy campaign. So basically, they put all the available sources very early during the lockdown in late March, were collected to have a Discover Germany from Home campaign. So we are running additional campaigns in our marketing strategies that were not planned and not budgeted before. So I think the lesson, the learning from this is actually that we are more flexible with our marketing campaigns now and in the future. And we have to deal with shorter lead times. So this is actually, yeah, the experience from Germany.
Great. And can I ask you to come in too, Susanna?
Yes, of course. So as Stephanie mentioned, the COVID, I think the most thing that it brings is the flexibility when it comes to our strategy planning. And to be honest, the Chinese market is a perfect place to learn that, because here everything is very flexible, very agile. It changes all the time. So on that note, I would say that being present on this market made us a bit more prepared for the new situation and how to handle it. And as for our Polish National Tourism Office, we changed our marketing strategy on different levels, both when it comes to the channels, because of course, the offline events were on a pause for a very long time. So we switched to digital, we switched to online. Instead of going for on-site presentations with our partners, we started to carry some webinars. Instead of going to fairs, we started to participate in virtual roadshows, etc. And at the same time, we also changed our marketing message. We also switched to the message like dream now, travel later. Of course, we communicated a lot about the pandemic situation in Poland, about the travel restrictions, about what measures are we taking to ensure the safety of travel of our visitors. And we also took this chance to experiment a bit more, because usually we promote mostly the must-see places in Poland, because we know that Chinese tourists are mostly interested in them. But now we had a chance to introduce a bit different sides of Poland and see how the market reacts. So we were able to go more in depth, to introduce a lot of cultural sites. As in Germany now, it's a very important year because of the Beethoven anniversary. For us, it's an important year because of Chopin's 210th birthday anniversary. So it's a music year for everybody. So this was one of the themes that we were promoting, of course. Another one is the well-being tourism. So we were introducing the beautiful natural scenery in Poland, places where Chinese tourists can come, where they won't be overcrowded, when they can relax in beautiful scenery, in hot terms, or in some spa in the middle of forest. So these were the actions that we were taking during last couple of months.
Well, it's very interesting because, you know, looking at a UK perspective, London is currently pretty empty. Whereas if you try and get a room up in the Lake District or some of the resort areas, those hotels are doing really well. So it's interesting to see your take on that, Susanna. And from my perspective, I was brought up in a household that treated both Beethoven and Chopin as superstars. So you certainly have one fan here. I'm going to bring in Lukasz, who's been waiting patiently now. Lukasz, what changes to your offering are you seeing with post-pandemic?
Well, if I'll talk about the changes and what we've been doing, We are more focusing on the individual travel already since 2017. And if I have to talk about the present situation, I suppose most of us moved to the online world. For example, for me, as most of this year I am spending in Czech Republic, I was unable to go back to China. So I've decided to start my own Douyin account. And here I changed, let's say, a little bit to a vlogger. And I'm trying to show different places in Czech Republic and different activities. And also we use these videos on our other social media to recommend the Chinese travelers different places compared to the, let's call it, the hotspots for Chinese visitors in the Czech Republic.
Great. And can I put the same question to you, Rufat?
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. We want to focus more on FIT travelers, families also, because, of course, all of us, we like to accept big groups of Chinese, GIT and MICE also, but according current situation, it's not so good. And we try to make Azerbaijan more Chinese-friendly destination. We started Chinese-friendly Azerbaijan and train local travel industry how to be Chinese-friendly and train them to translate all signs into Chinese and put more for example, if we speak about the hotels, the room facilities, Chinese tea, and all those details which need Chinese tourists and more families also, so they can feel they are more comfortable here in Azerbaijan, in Baku, in capital, and in regions also. Thank you.
So do you have a certification program to back that up, Rufat?
Yes, of course we have, as I told, Chinese-friendly Azerbaijan. We started it in June, in June, and hope to finalize it in December. So for 2021, we will be 100% ready.
And just back to you, Lucas, 620,000 overnights or visitors is a great number. How much of that is currently based around Prague and how much in the other areas of the Czech Republic?
Well, if we take this 620,000 in global, 75% of these visitors visited our hotspots, which is like the Prague, the Karlovy Vary, the famous spa resort, Spa City, and the city of Český Krumlov, which is for many, many visitors, not only Chinese, but many other ones, the ideal, historical, beautiful, small city. So let's say 75% of those people, they visited mostly these places. The other places were visited just about 25%. That's also the reason that since, for example, in last year, we had the main campaign theme, we just call like the gates, the city is the gates into the regions. And here we also try to, let's say, introduce some undiscovered gems to the visitors.
Great, thank you. I think it's worth digging a little deeper into this segmentation. Clearly with social distancing, group travel, cruises are really going to be challenged. And Lucas, you've already referenced the move towards FIT, as have you, Rufat. I think I'd like to put that question over to Roy in Israel. Obviously, you've had great success. How do you see that profile of visitor changing, and how are you adapting the ecosystem to cater for it?
So I would definitely say that more than 65% of the Chinese travelers to Israel is a traditional movement. Most of them are coming as large groups, departures, etc. While of course we already knew a few years ago that the future of the Chinese movement will be FATs and customized travel. And now, thanks to the COVID-19, it's about time to make this shifting for our product also, because we saw the demand of the Chinese travelers to Israel for more in-depth tour, family travel, but now it's the time really to implement it, because our country has a lot to offer, and especially for families with children, Chinese families with children, who really emphasize a lot about the education and want to acquire a special program to train them, especially also, by the way, during the summer holidays. And those kind of products, these together with the family travel, renting cars, etc., this is the future for the travel, especially after the COVID-19, where we see also here now, just on the Chinese National Day, where people prefer to travel with their families instead of going on a group tour together with people they don't know, they're not familiar with, and they don't know where they've been before, etc. So definitely, this is the future from our perspective. But we still won't abandon the traditional market, and we will still promote this, hopefully, when there will be a vaccine or
so. Susanna talked about the flexibility of the Chinese market, which I think we can all learn from. But I think Israel shows itself as a country also to be extremely flexible in adapting to new realities. So I can absolutely understand that. And then Stephanie, with so much skin in the game, 3 million overnights from China into Germany, how are you dealing with those changes in segmentation?
Yes, thank you, Patrick. Well, actually, again, change in segmentation. I would like to look back actually in the year 2019, where actually Germany's incoming travelers, 61% of Germany's incoming travelers are from the leisure industry, and 30% are business travelers. So actually, we had previously quite a large share also of business travelers, and for our market here, for China, including Hong Kong, I also see business travel as a segment that could, recover. Germany is worldwide one of the most important trade fair destinations. So 2 out of 3 worldwide leading trade fairs take place in Germany, and actually just last month in September, German trade fair organizers have started to launch trade fairs again. And also it seems to be possible again for Chinese business visitors to slowly apply for and receive visas to visit German trade fairs. So this would be then for 2021. But this is one segment. And another segment with a high recovery potential from Hong Kong is FIT. So industry insiders are also here in Hong Kong talking about revenge travel. German airlines are actually going back to daily flights with the winter flight plan. So this nurtures hope, for these 2 segments.
Well, that's great news on the airlines, because obviously airline connectivity is going to fuel a lot of the recovery. I'm really interested in what you say about business travelers. A lot of people have said that business travel is dead, and everybody can do things by Zoom. I always think it's an interesting question that when your competitor turns up on your customer's doorstep and shows them the love, that maybe the commercial director will be saying to the financial director, hey, we need to boost that T&E business and get our staff out to see our clients again. And that might be the start of a resurgence in business travel. Similar question, Susanna, I'm going to put to you just to move on to channels. and really, you know, which channel do you see growing back more quickly from China? Is it the OTA channel? Is it tour operators? How are you looking at that channel management?
So because we are quite new office here on the Chinese market, we opened our office only 5 years ago. So at the beginning, we started with concentrating on, of course, B2B relations and marketing. So cooperation with tour operators and educating them about the tourism offer of Poland and introducing new travel programs to Poland. But during the last 2 years, we started switching our focus, diversifying our channels a bit more to B2C marketing. And for this reason, we started cooperating closely with OTAs. We established our presence on different social media channels. And we cooperate with different influencers just to inspire travelers to want to come to Poland and visit our destination. So definitely, as we see that there is this trend of tourism towards FITs in China, the channels that are aimed at individual tourists will be of more and more importance in the future. And when it comes to this kind of marketing, the OTA's help is just priceless. Let's be honest. They have the biggest reach. These are the platforms where most of the tourists go, not only for booking, but also for the inspiration.
That's really interesting because, you know, OTAs have often been seen weak as in inspiration in the past, but you see that changing.
Yes, definitely, especially now with the live streamings, as this is a trend that was present in the Chinese market for a very long time, but since the COVID started, it entered also a tourism industry. Before, the live streamings were mainly about selling products. Now they are about inspiration, about bringing the destination a bit closer to Chinese people. So OTA's role in that was very visible. They produced their own softwares for the live streaming during last couple of months. They are inviting a lot of destinations to participate in the promotional campaigns. And they are the place where you can go to see some of the videos from different destinations, to read travel diaries from different bloggers, and to see what there is to discover still.
That's great. And this concept of live streaming is you know, I think everybody in Europe and the States and the rest of the world really needs to take note of how that is growing in China. Stephanie, over to you for the same thoughts, please.
Thank you. Well, in accordance to a survey the German National Tourist Board made in 2018, so an annual consumer survey, 98% of booking from source market China and Hong Kong was done in advance, and in that same year 82% of the booking was done online. And already in 2018, China became the world's second largest OTA market. So that's why I believe, OTAs will be the first to rebound. Also, some examples of traditional online platforms. Susanna also mentioned it. Mafeng War is a very inspirational platform. You have Ctrip, two new companies like JD Mall have been expanded into JD Travel. Meituan Dianping is another platform. So yes, I think this is the platforms, the channels that we should be working with in the future. And actually, I agree with Susanna fully on what she mentioned about the live streaming trend.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I'd like to now dig a little bit deeper into year-round tourism. You know, there's been a lot of build back better is one of the key words that everybody phrases that keeps on recurring. And part of that is spreading the tourism year round. Can I put this question to you, Lucas? Are you making efforts to spread tourism year round, and what are they?
Sure. I maybe a little bit started to talk about this question in my previous speech. Well, as I mentioned before, our main campaign in 2019 was this Cities, the Gates in Regions, while we tried to bring the people into the regions and learn more about the activities. And also the other part, which is like this year, we already came out with the second edition of the Undiscovered Travel Gems. Well, maybe those are more focused on the visitors from neighboring countries, but I believe the visitors, the Chinese visitors, could also learn something more there. And if I talk about the Chinese tourist in the Czech Republic, well, under the normal conditions, the main season for the Chinese visitors to Czech Republic is, let's say, July to September. While those visitors will mostly visit these, let's call it the hotspots in the Czech Republic. And besides these main places, we try to introduce more the other places. And which other places is those that could be visited all year round. So for example, in 2018, I started to introduce more the Czech spa traditions and the Czech spa cities within China. And not only the healing spa, but also the wellness. And it's quite big task also to introduce this, because when I started to talk about the healing spa and so on, I found out that it's not so famous on the Chinese market. So there's a lot of work to do with this.
Okay, thank you. And Roy, how are you dealing with seasonality and spreading that load?
So actually, it's pretty similar to what Lucas just said. Last year, we had more than 4.5 million incoming tourists to Israel, which was a year of record breaking. And this year, our target was to have more than 5 million incoming tourists. Which makes, the seasonality much more important in order to spread and to have more functions and to, not to focus that all the tourists will come on the same months. So in Israel, actually, the low season is the summertime, July, August, and the winter time, which is December to February. Now, July, August in China is the perfect time to travel because the children are on vacation and the parent wants to take them overseas to a country where they can have like an added value, and especially regarding education programs and entrepreneurships, etc. And wintertime in Israel, I don't know, Patrick, if you've been, but it's 50 to 18 degrees, so perfect time. The hotels are not really occupied too much, and the tourism attractions, you can freely walk. And of course, it's the Chinese, the Chunjie. The Chinese, the Chunjie. Anyway, so definitely we want to promote the Chinese tourists to come during the low season in Israel and to have a better experience even.
I can confirm, sir, that I have been to Israel in the wintertime, and yes, it is. It's very nice. So I think the whole panel have touched a little bit about this shift into more rural tourism. Do we think this is a temporary thing or this is a permanent shift? I'm going to put that question first to Susanna and second to Rufat.
Okay, so in my opinion, it's very hard to talk about any one trend on the Chinese market because it's so big and so diverse that you can find here all types of tourists. And of course, now there is a trend towards rural tourism, but let's be honest, only 10 to 15% of citizens have passports for now. So the numbers are growing, and each year new tourists are able to travel internationally. And those people, first of all, they will be interested still in the must-see places, in those most popular tourist attractions, because they haven't seen them yet. So they will want to go there. So definitely this trend of, it is called in Chinese, Daka, so the hotspots will continue. But at the same time, I think that the rural tourism also has a chance on the Chinese market, especially that now, due to pandemic, people will want to travel to less crowded places, be more outdoor, be close to the nature. I know from my talks with tour operators that they are planning to introduce new travel products that combine cities with outdoor places in a proportion of 60% of cities, 40% of outdoor activities. So there will be a chance to introduce new places, and it is up to us, up to DMOs, to make it a permanent trend, because if we will promote the countryside and make the stay for the Chinese tourists pleasant, because let's be honest, it's not easy to cater to Chinese tourists, so we have to educate our partners in our destinations how to prepare for the Chinese tourists as well. Then the tourists will share the experience. They will inspire more travelers to come in the future, and we just might create new must-see places, but in the countryside areas. So I'm really hoping for that for the future.
Great, and to your point on cities, given the new demographic that's coming along, I think a lot of empty world cities at the moment will be very pleased to hear your comments. Rufat, I put the same question to you. How do you see this shift, and especially as your tourism is really growing from China?
Yeah, I totally agree with Susanna, and I think this trend will continue, and definitely it has a chance. Here in Azerbaijan, maybe a couple of years ago, our Minister of Agriculture had some project called From Village to City. It was created for bring village products directly from farmers to clients. And now we, Azerbaijan Tourism Board and State Tourism Agency, created another project From City to Village. It means we trying to train locals in regions, in villages, to how properly accept foreign tourists, and how to give them right service, how to properly conduct excursions and give them overnights, how to do it better. So yeah, I'm agree. Again, I'm agree. This trend will continue definitely.
Okay, thank you, Rufat. So we're moving into the last part of the session now. We're running out of time, so I'm going to ask everybody please to keep their answers quite brief. But I'm interested, the EU have identified digitization and sustainability as two key strands of building back. I'd like to put this to two of the larger members bringing in Chinese tourists into the EU, and that's Stephanie and Lucas. How do you feel about those priorities, and how are you implementing them? So Stephanie, if you could take that question first, please.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I already talked about marketing campaigns. The new marketing campaign is based on sustainability, and we're offering, several destinations are offering virtual tours in Germany. And our sales and marketing office is taking many services also to the digital platform, virtual platform. In June, we organized the Germany Travel Mart on a virtual platform, connecting over 450 buyers in 4,000 individual meetings. Digitalization and sustainability are both important topics.
Thank you. And you, Lucas?
Yeah, definitely. Regarding the sustainability, I already mentioned promoting the different regions of the Czech Republic, and one of the goals to do so is to ease the overcrowded situation of some tourism hotspots in the peak season. And also based on this, we have the talks with the local DMOs. If I talk about the digitalization, this summer Czech tourism started a new website, BUZZ.travel.com. That's all like for the global one. The visitors can find there almost, let's say, 20,000 articles in 10 languages. And also there's other communication on our other social media. Also on our Chinese social media, we went with the virtual travel all around the Czech Republic, introducing each regions. And I've already mentioned the Towin. If it's like the local subject, local parties, I have to say maybe sometimes, not at this situation, but for the last 2 years, sometimes it's maybe a little bit complicated. If you see the situation in China where, let's say, everyone is living on his mobile phone and everything is 100% online, I have to say some parties in some places in Czech Republic are maybe a little bit more conservative. So not everything is, you can scan the QR code, get all the information, you can pay by WeChat, Alipay, and so on.
Well, no, I think that's very honest of you to talk about those challenges, and certainly there are those challenges that exist, and we shouldn't shy away from them. But clearly, adaptation is a big part. Roy, I'd like to put this question to you. You talked about Israel really being a seamless ecosystem. How far now do you see the DMO's role as moving past being simply marketing and moving into being a destination management organization?
So I would say that initially the biggest part of our role of the IGTO, Israel Government Tourism Overseas Offices, is to be like the destination marketing place to initiate the strategy, the marketing campaigns, offline, online, whatever. But as China is a very unique outbound market with different needs, a very special target audience, and the vast majority of the Israeli shareholders in the travel industry don't have the official presence in China, it is our role to be like the management organization, to lead the communication between the parties, to educate the Israeli shareholders how to host the Chinese traveler, how to accommodate them. That's why every year we hosted Chinese chefs. We brought them to Israel to teach the industry chefs how to prepare Chinese food, of course, kosher. And we launch initiatives for the hotels how to host Chinese travelers. When Lucas just talked about the online payments, so we need to accept them in Israel. So it is part of our job because of the uniqueness of the Chinese market. It is our role to be also the management organization and to be in between all those shareholders, stakeholders in Israel, China, all the industry.
Thank you, Roy. And Rufat, really, same question to you. Obviously, you know, you're an emerging country. Tourism is developing quite quickly. You have the chance to build this up from the start.
Yeah, you know, this our government, I mean, State Tourism Agency, we strongly support all representative of local industry during the pandemic and quarantine. All of them was under big pressure, and big subsidies has been allocated to maintain the viability of the companies. And we also use this time, the lockdown time, and created tourism training center. And all of local industry representatives, travel agencies, tour operators, hotels, hotel employees, they can consolidate their knowledges and improve it also.
Thank you very much. And finally, on that note, you know, traditionally DMOs have used and NTOs have used tourism numbers as the main KPI. Given all of these changes, I'm going to put the question to Lucas and to Roy, but if anybody else would like to come in on this question, please feel free. Are you changing those KPIs at all? First of all, to you, Lucas.
Well, the Czech Republic had a steady growth of foreign visitors within the recent years. And I already mentioned last year we had about 620 Chinese visitors. But let's say in connection with the sustainable tourism, we try to focus on 4 points. The first point is the broad portfolio of foreign visitors. The second point is the longer stay of the visitors in the Czech Republic. We have for the foreign visitors, we had an average stay of 3.5 nights, while Chinese visitors just stay 2.5 nights. So I hope this number can grow up. In relation to the mentioned above, the visitors will spend more money in the local economics. And the last point is the happy and satisfied visitor who will come back to Czech Republic again.
Okay, thank you. And I can see Jan here, so this means our time is running out. So I'm going to put this last question to Roy, if you could answer it very briefly, and then we'll wrap up.
So yeah, just as Lucas said before, it was mostly about the numbers of the incoming tourists, but now we also revised our metrics to include also the room nights, to check each and every tourist how many room nights he spends in Israel, and to see how we can expand it. And of course, the average expenditure per day, which the Chinese traveler to Israel is the #1 spender in Israel per day. So that's why also we will keep and maintain the presence here in China and invest more and more to market to this target audience.
So Roy, thank you very much for that answer. Panel, to you all, I really appreciate your insightful and succinct answers. It's been a pleasure hosting you all. And Jan, unless you want to say anything in closing, we'll bring this session to a close.
I would just say thank you to you and thank you to the panelists. It's been very interesting to listen to. I think the last question, Patrick, wraps it up pretty much. Very interesting to see how government organizations are adapting, changing. It used to be a lot of numbers, statistics. Now, as you say, the KPIs are changing, and it's been great to see how government organizations think about that, and particularly how they do that in a very challenging market like the Chinese. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all.